Hi gang, I finally made it back out here to the range to try to complete this ammo test with my 300 Magnum. As you recall, I'm running 190 grain Sierra Match Kings with H1000 powder. The loads that I have today are going to be 75.5 grains is going to be the first one of H1000. Next is 76.0 grains, and the last one is 76.5 grains. This, according to the Sierra manual, is still, my top load of 76.5 grains is still about half a grain or so below what they're listing as maximum. I've seen a lot of people online talk about running these things hotter. I don't like to push things over what the loading manuals show. And based on the velocities that I was seeing the last time I was out here, I don't think I'm going to have to. I'd like to get these things right around 2,900 feet per second, which is going to put them pretty close to what Federal loads their gold medal match ammunition to. And I think that'll be a pretty good place to work with this cartridge and this rifle. The big thing I want to see is if the accuracy stays consistent, and as soon as we start shooting here, we're going to see if that happens. This is the last day of February here in Ohio, and the last day looks a lot like the first day, which is to say it's cold and the snow is falling. Although this is the best day I've had in a while, which is why I'm back here. The temperature is just above freezing today. It's about 33 degrees. It's been sub-freezing for quite some time, and the weather's been dismal. The good thing about today is it's pretty much perfect light conditions for the chronograph. A very matte gray sky with low overcast cloud cover. So we should be able to get good consistent chronograph readings at least. So with that being said, let's send a few shots downrange and see where we are. I've not changed the scope setting since I was out here the last time, so we should be pretty close to being on at 100 yards. Well, folks, doesn't get much better than that. The chronograph reading on that was 2,956 feet per second. This, by the way, is my 75.5 grain load. I'm going to walk down range and actually show you where this one landed, because it surprised me a little bit even. There it is, folks. I think we can safely call that one a pretty good shot. I don't think I could get much closer to the center than that. I'm going to go ahead, when I stop the recording here in a minute, and go back and fire out the next 5 rounds of my test ammunition. Let's hope that the hole looks exactly the same after the next 4 rounds as it does right now. I have my doubts, but at least I can hope. Let's see what happens. Okay, folks, 75.5 grains of H1000. Let's see what we have for some averages here. Low was 2901 feet per second. High was 2956. Average 2,937 feet per second. Stream spread of 54-57, which is a little higher than I'd like to see. And one more click here. Standard deviation of 23.89 feet per second, almost 20. Okay, folks, here is that 100-yard target. As you remember, the first one was dead center right here. Shot number 2 was here. Shot number 3 was here. That's 3 shots. Probably under half minute of angle. I'm very happy with the first 3. Shot number 4 is this one down here. I knew this was a bad shot when it broke. I thought that it went wide right. It turns out that it hit a little bit low. And this was shot number 5. I redeemed myself a little bit with that one. So 4 out of the 5 shots are under minute of angle, about as well into the X ring as you could get them. This was shot number 4. Like I said, that was me. That wasn't the rifle or ammunition. I'm going to try the next couple of loads that I have just to see how they do. I may well have found my load right here. Like I said, I'm a little surprised with the velocity I'm getting, but I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. I wanted to get 2,900. I'm at 2,900, and the accuracy is looking pretty darn good. Okay, gang, I just finished the 76 grain load of H1000, and my velocities continue to be a lot higher than I expected. Low velocity on that one was 2947. High was 3010, so I've already broken the 3000 foot per second range. Did not expect to do that yet. Average velocity is 2983. That's looking pretty darn good. I've got an extreme spread of just over 63 feet per second and a standard deviation of 26 feet per second. Again, those are running a little higher than I'd like to see. I'd like to see both of those last two numbers come down some. Let's go down and take a look at the target. And there they are. All 5 of my shots with the 76 grain load went into one large hole. For some reason I had a slight shift in my point of impact, a little bit high and to the left as the velocity increased. Not sure what might be causing that, but the group size itself, I can't complain too much about. That's probably all 5 shots into, I'd say it's 3/4 of a minute or thereabouts, measured center to center. So again, not looking too bad. Slight sight adjustment, and those are all on the 1 minute of angle orange spotter there. So we're going to go back and try the last load, and then we'll wrap things up and see where we are. Okay, gang, that is all of my test ammunition. The 76.5 grain load had some unexpected things happen with it. First of all, I was getting a lot of muzzle flash coming from this, more than I expected. Also got some sticky extraction on one of the cartridges, so I think we are going to rule that out. The accuracy also pretty much went to hell on that load. And I think it's just pushing it a little bit too hard and things starting to open up. But the good news is the first 2 loadings, the 75.5 and the 76 even load, both performed very well. I think probably for the difference in the 2, or the lack of difference in the 2, maybe I'll do a little further load development. Maybe I'll do a step in between there, between 75.5 and 76, maybe a 77 point, or a 75.7 grain load, and see how that does, just to see if it maybe helps with the consistency and the standard deviation a little bit. I'm going to jump up here in a second, and I'll show you the final results of that last series of 5 shots. It's not too impressive, but just in the interest of being thorough, I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, first the Coronagraph Info from that. Low velocity was 2955, which kind of surprised me. Again, the ES and SD numbers. High velocity was 3011. So I think that's 1 foot per second higher than my high velocity with the 76 grain even loading. Average velocity was 2990, just a smidge higher. Extreme spread is 55.88. Standard deviation of 22.4. I think that's down just slightly from the last load. That's probably the only positive thing I can say about this last series of 5. As you can see, things really went to hell with this load. These were my first 2 shots up here, almost touching, and that kind of followed the theme of the last 5 shots, where as the velocity increased, it was going a little more and more high and to the left. After that, these next 3, this one was a called flyer. I knew that was a bad shot. These other 2, I have no idea what happened to them. I think this is just, again, trying to push those bullets a little too hard with a little too much powder, and things are starting to open up some. Could be the barrel starting to heat too, and it could be me after getting pounded by 15 rounds of 300 Magnum ammunition. Maybe I'm starting to lose some of my steadiness. But still, when we go over and look at this with the 76 grain even load, that is fabulous accuracy. And this one, with the exception of the 1 bad shot, is another really good load. There's a couple of things that I can comment on the factory 700P. First of all, it is a fabulously accurate rifle, and I'm also getting very high velocities out of that factory barrel, higher than I expected. I think my load development is pretty much going to end right about there. Y'all take care. Bye-bye.